Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have someone who is a wordsmith and been able to create a new paradigm for herself and others through work she's done as a dramatist, as a poet, and as an essayist. DC Copeland, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Hi, Dave. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you here. It's a pleasure having you here. And how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing quite well. Holiday season, scrambling to get gifts for people. What do they want? Oh
my God, yeah, that is. And it's only a week to go. This is the time when it gets all busy. It's probably, you're from New York. We said, yeah. So Macy's is going to be like all around that area. It's going to be pretty packed around that stairway. Pretty packed around that stairway before you, just as soon as you hit Brooklyn Bridge, you know, it's the first thing you see, isn't it? So, I know it well. So. Yeah, well, in London, we got Oxford Street. I don't know if you've been to UK before.
I've been to UK before, yes. I'm familiar.
So Oxford Street is what we've got. We've got a very posh department store called Harrods. And,
right, I was just going to say, I got my prom dress at Harrods.
Yeah, that's pretty packed at the moment, probably. Yeah, but it looks nice at night time, all the lights. All right, well, let's stop all the small talk and stop making each other jealous with what each city looks like. It's pretty nice, but anyway, I'm both a city person and a nice tropical person, but of course you have it all in America. You could fly over to California, Southern California anytime you want, or Miami, couldn't you? So
Miami, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, well, this is not a geography lesson. This is quite serious stuff you've done. I mean, your work spans poetry, playwriting, and essays. Can you share what first drew you to storytelling and how that passion evolved over time?
Well, when I was a kid, it was the thing. It was something my parents raised us on Broadway plays. We would go birthday, so Broadway's basically the theater district in Manhattan. And we would go for birthdays, for holidays, for anything. We would go to see musicals from like Fiddler on the Roof, Pippin, Cats. And what we would do as kids, we would come home and we would memorize the play. We listened to it over and over on. At this point, it was, I think, CDs.
CDs. I remember CDs. So you don't look old enough to say CDs, really. But anyway, people say I don't look old enough.
Millennial.
Millennial. Yeah.
But yeah, so we would memorize all the songs, and I would direct the neighborhood kids into doing the plays. And it always came very naturally to me. Like I would spend an afternoon writing a story, which usually became a play. And that grew into just like a love of telling stories through theater, especially theater. But I also started doing short stories. And when I went to college, I went to Yale University, where I met this mentor of mine, Harold, who is a big literary critic. He's written lots of books. He wrote Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human, The Western Canon, genius, just an incredible mind. And, it was his love of being able to tell stories that were reflective of the human experience and the importance of doing that as a way to elevate society, as a way to elevate our fellows on this journey. And he just, some people think, oh, you just tell stories. It's really trite. No, storytelling is part of the whole human story, and it's how we evolve as a culture. And so I guess it was play in the beginning, and then it evolved into something serious as I grew up.
Yeah, wow. Well, you work closely with Harold Bloom, who described your writing as abruptly new. How did this mentorship shape your creative process and your voice as a writer?
It was interesting because it's difficult to commit to writing as a path, I think. And I said, well, what am I going to do after college? And he said, well, you're going to write. And for him to, for somebody of that caliber and experience, you know, he in his 70s by the time we met, and he had a lot of life experience. So when he said, you're going to write and no more school for you, you know, right.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart, you know, and I've had odd jobs and stuff like that, but I've always written, and I started trying to get published then and had success, and especially as a poet. And what I would do with it's interesting because he would recommend books to me, and that would by osmosis shape me. Like Samuel, he said, you know, I don't know if I listed it, but he likened my work to Samuel Beckett and Ionesco and Pinter, and he would just recommend these books to me, and I would just absorb. I would just read them like a sponge, you know. And one of the big process was I would bring over a bunch of stories or poems to his apartment, and he would read them, and I would know if it was good if he was be like, oh, I'm so sorry for Dave, he seems such a good guy. And then
you mean me?
No, I'm just saying, pretending the protagonist.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, that's what plays are, isn't it? Yeah.
Right.
That's what acting and play is. Yeah.
Plays are. You take characters,
pretending,
make them into part of your play.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he would read something and it'd be like, this makes me very sad, and he would put it away. And I would like start to see what was the commonality between the things that like interested him. And he was basically the barometer for me. Like he was the ideal audience member. And and it shaped me because he is a critical thinker. And I never want to talk down to my audience. I want them to, I believe in their own intelligence. And I'm not a snob. I just believe that everyone has an intellect inside of them, like an ability to choose their own thoughts and creatively, and a creativity inside of them. And that's what I want to speak to. So Harold is the ideal audience member because he's just a complete manifestation of that creative, critical thinker, that voice. So when he likes something, I know, okay, this is calling out to that part of my audience, my listener, my audience member. And I think of them like Harold would, of listeners. Because when you read, you're listening to someone else, even it's in my voice, but you're putting it into your own voice as you listen.
I know what you're saying.
My eye becomes your eye as you reading it, you know. So I really esteem my reader, and I learned that from Harold. Like to esteem your readers, to think well of them, not to talk down to them, not to, you know, my book and my work. It's not like setting out, if you do 5 things, you're going to be happy for the rest of, you know, it's not about, and sometimes those books are good. Some they're tools, but like, I really want to call out to the part of the reader that already knows they're well, already knows that it's all okay, that there's really, that the only wrong thinking is wrong thinking, and that they're not wrong themselves. And once there's that flexibility, then they can read anything and they can have the ability to just like soak it in and enjoy it. And that's kind of where Harold urged me to go, into just esteeming the reader as a creative listener and a participant.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. That sounds really quite a unique point for you. You know, unique selling point is a marketing kind of word, really. But how do you approach writing poetry versus plays? And do you find the creative process vastly different, or do they share the same common threads?
It's a great question, and I'm going to tell you totally transparently how the successful poems I've written are in iambic pentameter. I totally go to the London Bard, to Shakespeare himself, Ben Jonson, all those.
I grew up near the Globe Theatre. Have you heard of the Globe Theatre? Yeah.
Oh,
It was just a derelict building when I was growing up as a kid, but it's not now. It's the most tourist kind of like.
Of course it is.
For people like yourself, it will be very one of the first places you'd probably go. You know, as well as Shakespeare's area, which is in Stratford upon Avon, I think, somewhere like that.
Yes, I know it all.
You know,
I've read like a biography.
All right. Yeah. So anyway, back to the question.
So right. So So I am a pentameter. So what I wind up doing, I take a legal pad and I just go dot dot. I just make the 5 dashes, and then I start to compose. And it's similar. And what I find, so the difference between writing an essay, writing a short story, writing a play, is really just the formatting. But I find that it's really important to organize a poem in a way that that really emphasizes the lyricism, so that it's like a song. It's got that inner.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, poetry is. I mean, you take. I mean, obviously, rap music. I didn't know this for a long time, listening to it as a thing. But rap music actually stands for rhythm and poetry, doesn't it? So.
I didn't know that.
And then I didn't know that either. And then of course you've got spoken word, which is kind of like more.
When I was a kid, I used to do spoken word contests.
Yeah. I used to go to a lot of spoken words as well.
He was my friend, I was there to the end, and then we go and we take a bend down the tour.
Yeah, but that's a good London accent you got there, actually.
Go around the bend and we have a tool. No, that's like
wow. You'll have to go in some of our soap operas called EastEnders. I think one of them's called anyway. So.
Oh, I love British soap operas.
You're right. Well, your debut book uses theatricality to engage readers. How does your background in theatre influence the way you craft your stories?
Well, especially with this book, the Societal Dropout Culture Manifesto, it's really, the voice is completely theatrical. I could talk in a voice that's strong. This is from the book. I could talk in a voice that's strong, and I could tell you things, but wouldn't it be more interesting to discuss what I don't know? And to the horror of myself, I don't know many things. I'd like to pretend I know.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the I voice of a person that is wrestling with these larger issues and has to move away from society and kind of be in the Plato cave, as you will, the Platonian cave.
Plato, yeah.
Yeah, to kind of drop out and think about all these things, and to strongly say I. So Nietzsche is like a big influence on me, because what he did with his writing, Ecce Homo and the Dionysian, he really disguised his voice. He took on a persona so that he could rant, but rant creatively and rant in a way that expressed an I that was a collective I. Like why theater is so important to my work specifically is because when you're looking at a character on a play, that character is acting a part of myself, for myself, in front of myself. And that's why we all identify. That's why we're all quiet and we attend the character, because the character is an archetype. It's something that we all can relate to. So one of the reasons why I want theatricality in my writing is, and it's always the I, it's always the author. Most of my short stories it's the experience of an I, different eyes, different aspects, different characters, but always this idea of creating a character that you can relate to, that's a part of you, for you, in front of you. So you're listening to a quiet part of yourself. That's kind of where theatricality comes in.
Yeah. Wow.
Making it playful, making it theater.
Yeah.
Giving the option, like, you don't have to listen in a play. You can choose not to, but when I was a kid, I still do it. So, okay. I like sometimes direct plays, and I tell the actors, I'm like, we need to overcome the audience's disarray. Like, audiences are coming in, they're thinking about this, they're checking their phones, they're doing all this. We need to have organized, something special, something that like it's worth taking time out of your busy day and your crazy mind to just attend the play and see something that kind of gives you a catharsis. The idea of a play is a catharsis, a release, an escape from the everyday world and into like a different world, a better world, a sillier world, a more compassionate world, a tragic world, but something that makes you feel more human, makes you feel more you. When you leave the theater, or when you stop reading my book or stop reading at home, I want you to walk away and be like, oh yeah, okay, like a breath of fresh air,
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like that with a few films I went to recently. So during Halloween, you want to? I think I went to see Beetlejuice actually, which
Oh, was it good?
yeah,
Fun.
yeah. It's just a mixture of different things. I think it was good though. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. Okay. Well, look. Obviously, sort of switching it up a little bit. One of the topics you're passionate about is the battle of sexes. Why do you feel no one is winning this war, and what steps can society do to take to shift the narrative?
That's like one of my passion projects, is to talk about this, because right now we are thinking, Dave, like that, like, oh, we're so evolved, and like, women and men are totally equal, and it's like, no, we're not. And like in America right now, they overturned Roe versus Wade. And
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a big thing over here as well. I studied American politics anyway, so it's one of the things I actually answered that question in my American politics module in my politics degree anyway. So yeah,
it's a huge deal, and it represents the fact that we're still living, I'd say, in the Western world. I'd say we're still living in a patriarchy, and it's really important. I'm not lashing. I'm not being like,
no, it is a patriarchy society still, yeah. And you can go to some. Obviously, you look at the Taliban, for instance. I'm not saying I don't want to get. I don't want anyone from the Taliban listening to say, "Oh, you did this." But that is very. When you look at that, that is a very kind of ancient living still. The way they still haven't kind of moved from. Like a few hundred years of how things are now in modern society. But of course, it's a little bit more stealthy in the Western world, isn't it, really? Right. When I say stealthy, I mean, it is blatant in some areas, but
I think when we overturn Roe versus Wade, it becomes more blatant. But I think that I think stealth is a great word, because we're saying, oh, we're equal. It's a lie. It's a lie right now. And it's like we are, in the American military, we're saying that women should be able to like do the same amount of the kind of same tests, the kind of strength tests as men. But women, like, we have to look at the issue is that we are equally relevant, equally valuable, equally significant, but we're not equal to one another. And that's it's a very subtle shift, Dave, but we have to just be like, well, we are so different, and let's applaud the difference, respect the difference, value the difference, as opposed to saying, oh, we're just equal. No, our strength is, I'm not as strong. I will never be as strong, like as a healthy man, my height is going to have more muscle mass than me. They're just, that's how we're built. On the average. On the average,
because there are some females that are stronger than some weaker men, if you like.
On average, men are going to have more muscle. Just testosterone makes you more.
Genetically and evolutionary wise, yeah. I know what you're trying to say.
And like, you guys cannot have a baby. Like, no one yet.
I think there has been stories of men, but we can't really, because that's a very, very small, minute kind of.
On average,
again, yeah.
Do not have the experience of having a menstrual cycle once a month.
Yeah.
And do not have the experience of being able to create life in their wombs. It's an amazing, like, what a superpower women have, right? But we don't really like talk about that as like a superpower. We don't really like appreciate that gift. And we also don't appreciate, conversely, we don't appreciate the idea of men as like the life giver. I talk about like the difference in just like plain genitalia, like the passive versus the active, and like this, this, it's almost just like the archetypal moon is like supposed to be the mother, right? And she has like invisible forces, just like, the feminine has this like invisible force, whereas like the masculine is like the sun, and like genitalia radiating outward, sex stuff radiating outward, and like and both of these, the sun and the moon, are both so important to the health of society, but they're so different, and their powers are so different. So like when we're in opposition to each other, when we're like, man versus woman, like take, and I I'm not, take back the night. Like we have to fight against the manpower. And it's like, what if we just drop the fighting, like drop the fight against the man? I mean, I don't think men are like fighting against women, because it's almost like a silly fight, because they'd win, like just because of the sheer strength. And we can debate this too. This is totally open to debate, but just because of the sheer strength of the masculine, I feel like it doesn't even like, it kind of just makes fun of the feminist argument sometimes. There's more men that are becoming like feminism and sympathize with this, and I really applaud that. But there's a lot of men, especially in middle America and everything, that are just kind of look at the feminine and kind of think that their arguments and their whole, is silly, and what, just get over it. I mean, we're in politics, especially, there's so many men that have like treated women horribly that are in power right now, like, and women and men don't seem to care. They're like, oh well, he's real.
Yeah, but there's also some women that are complicit to that as well, isn't there?
Exactly.
Really? Yeah. We could actually debate. I mean, this is obviously a debate that could last for weeks and weeks and weeks. I suppose you probably got your kind of main concept there out about that that area of the battle of sexes. But you've also spoken about the America's economy dependence on the drug addiction. What do you believe are the root causes, and how can individuals or communities begin to address them?
Well, so we're a capitalist society, right? We engage with profits.
Unless you live in Cuba, but even so, that's starting to get like that, obviously. But or it was when I was there about 20 years, 11 years, yeah, probably about 12 years ago, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about Cuba another time, but
yeah, exactly.
I want to go. I do want to go. But so right now in America, and I think this is all over the world too. This is happening especially in the Asian countries as well. But I have a statistic, and the statistic reads that in 2023, Mental Health America documented that 19.86% of Americans have been diagnosed with a mental illness. So that's 50 million Americans who are diagnosed with anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, bipolar disorders. And how can we expect to have a healthy society when you have like almost 20% of Americans saying that they're mentally ill in some way? And then how do you get rid of the illness? Drugs. The solution is drugs. And it's such a problem because in America, since the 80s, since Reagan, right?
Yeah.
And Nancy Reagan, there's been this concept of a war on drugs, and a war on
drugs. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
War on drugs. Yeah. And there still is this idea of a war on drugs. Now, but at the same time, big pharma is the biggest.
It's the pharma even takes over what doctors can do and say. They kind of control them, don't they? Really, it's big money. Money talks, isn't it?
Big money and money talks.
Yeah.
So you have on one hand, you have all this stuff like kids learning in school, don't do drugs, don't take drugs. But meanwhile, at the same time, you have kids being prescribed Ritalin and Adderall because they have ADHD at 8 years old.
Yeah, they tried to shy away from that in the UK, but I'm sure there's still some getting prescribed it. The more severe cases, maybe. But
I just had a friend tell me they were so excited, and I didn't know exactly what tack to take, but they were so excited because they took a test that basically said that, their problem is due to not ADHD but OCD, and they're so happy diagnosed.
OCD.
And I'm thinking you're being condemned, like you're condemning yourself, and like it's a fine line, Dave, because sometimes like it's good to work through your issues. If you're working through your issues and you're taking a drug to help you like work through your issues and get grounded and everything. But if you're taking it with this idea that like a lot of people in America, and the more promotion I do for this book, the more I encounter this, where people are saying, I'll never get better. I can't go on. My bipolar is really acting up today, and I don't, and I'll never amount to anything. And this is just, can somebody help me? Can somebody help me? And it's like, what can you say to that? Because it's a loop. This person is completely identified with their bipolar. They're completely identified with the OCD. Anyway, moving back though into this idea of hypocrisy, we're not my point is that the drugs are continuing to be prescribed as a solution to this problem. And it's not making anyone get better. And we're not looking at the whole drug issue from we're not spanning out and being like, one of the reasons our society is so, like American society at least, but I think it really is all around the world, is kind of de-evolving, I would say. Even, people are more isolated, more alienated, suicide rates are through the roof, is because we're not looking at this fact of drugs and mental illness, and that it's so pervasive, that it's so.
I mean, it does take some kind of well, I don't know what to say, some kind of mental situation for them to really be be drawn to drugs, and even alcohol, which is a drug anyway, really.
Sure.
Yeah, but you've advocated for cutting out the middleman. Well, before that, I would say that middleman and embracing the soul. What does that look like in practice for individuals who feel disconnected?
Okay, I'm going to connect this to what we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
What would be amazing? It would be for more and more people to okay, yes, go to therapy, talk it out with someone, totally, but find the inner voice and find I believe that everybody was born with a soul. And what I mean by soul is the still, quiet voice that can guide you in your life. And so often we are looking towards, in recovery, they call it a higher power. We're looking for it outside. We're looking at, Dave Palmer, will you tell me what to do? Like if I, will the therapist tell me what to do? Maybe the president, maybe it's in the president, and they'll guide me, and so our moods become enmeshed with what another person is saying and what another person is doing, as opposed and what I really advocate is to find that still, quiet place in yourself, which doesn't change with whoever's president, who doesn't change with whether it's raining outside or not. It doesn't change if the stock market goes down or up, and it doesn't change if we're at war or if we're at peace. It's kind of this idea that we can find the peace, we can find the light, that all of us have the potential to be enlightened right now. Just to say, we're it. It's not about who we are, it's that we are. And so what is the voice in ourselves that reflects that we are? We're all little miracles. We're all part of the universe. We're not alienated. We are not alone. We can think we're alone, and that's a mistake. It's just a mistake in thinking, because we're not. We're a part of this, and so the middleman would be like any kind of authority figure, political figure, parent, therapist, sponsor. Again, it's so great to have friends and to have family and to have people in your life that you can talk to and relate to and identify with. I'm not saying that don't have that. That's so important. But also have yourself, have yourself and enjoy who you are and that you are.
Yeah. Well, in a world that often promotes codependency, how can we cultivate self-reliance without isolating ourselves from meaningful connections?
Yeah. So, people say, you're never not going to have meaningful connections if you are in your own skin. Yeah. If you can always be relating to people from that depth of self or from that surface of self. There's the whole gamut. We can talk about Wicked, and we can talk about.
Oh, have you seen that film? Have you?
No, not yet.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one as well. I suppose I've been to the movie too many times, actually. I should be getting out of the real.
All about.
Yeah. Well, we've got Wicked, the actual theatre thing. That's been on for ages, for a long time in London. So
jealous.
Sorry about that.
Anyway.
Yeah, go on.
No, but I think, that's the thing. I think that I went to the movies. I saw a really silly movie. It's called Gladiator 2, and I was really silly. And it's just a silly movie. But I'm sitting with someone that I care about, that there's a, simpatico, and we're just laughing our asses off. And that's just that's wonderful. That's life. But codependent relationships is something that I think is such an interesting thing. We could talk about it forever, but what I'm going to just touch on a little bit is that it's lovely to like somebody, really like somebody, and want to share yourself with them. It's wonderful. I think the unhealthy thing is when you look to that person as like
an island or something.
Yes, yes, yes. Like I'm gonna like nestle in you, and I'm going to like leave my own island, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or and I'm gonna it's a paradigm shift. Like we're seeing that person as an island, and like I'm gonna set up shop. And like, oh no, there's like sand in my toes, and like and then you start getting angry and you start playing out this drama with this person. Why is there sand in my toes on this island? Like, because I have sand. That's what I do. I'm islanding right now.
Well, the UK and Ireland is an island actually. Excellent. Well, you've been described as a voice of your generation. What challenges have you faced living up to that, and how have they shaped your journey?
Well, it's really interesting because I'm going to lead it back to the codependency, right? Like one of the things, so I'm in a new relationship right now. One of the things that wakes me up and puts me back in my skin is that anyone from like people I've been working with, publishers and stuff, and people that are reading my work, and they are saying, we love your voice. We want to hear your voice. And it snaps me back, reminding me that I have my own voice to express and share. And it keeps me doing my work. It keeps me at my work. And I got to be honest, it's a joy to contribute my writing, because I do feel that it comes right from my soul. And so when I hear somebody say, it's not so intimidating, it's a wonderful compliment. I feel a responsibility though, Dave, to share my perspective and how I see the world, because it's not being shared by other people. People ask me, who do you relate to in your generation? And there's certain writers that I really like, Miss Klein is doing great work. But then I like people from other generations. I enjoy Patti Smith's work. I enjoy Nietzsche. I enjoy Michel Montaigne. I enjoy Shakespeare. I enjoy Harold. But these are not people of my generation. And the idea of dropping out of society, which is fairly controversial, and then like testifying to all these different aspects of society, I guess I don't mind being I don't mind saying there's an elephant in the room. I don't mind being that person who's saying, no, the sky isn't falling. Because I feel like I live in a society where everybody's saying the sky is falling. Like the headlines are always, everything is doom and gloom and everything's going downhill. And yes, the sky may be falling, and there's war and there's famine and the people are dying and people are being assassinated and everything. But there is still the human soul, and somebody needs to testify to that, because it's a space of sanity in the individual. And we're not going to be able, I believe, to change the world, to change the famine and the war. And until we start taking responsibility for ourselves as individuals, with our own right to choose war or to choose peace and to choose love as opposed to choose conflict. So I feel like it's tough, but it's a responsibility that I have. And so every day I come to my desk and I write, every day I come to it and I work with the voice, because I find that I have so much to say and so much to share.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So what next for you creatively? And are there any projects or ideas you're excited to explore?
I had one this weekend.
Tell us about
it. Well, I'm going to tell you the general gist. I was recently hospitalized with sepsis, which is like a very bad like blood infection, and like 11 million people like die of this. And I was in that for several weeks, and I was like almost died. And I learned a lot about this current state of like medicine and a new aspect of like how they give drugs out. And then I also had a miscarriage while I had the sepsis.
Oh no.
And something I want to write about. And it's just an idea right now. But what I want to write about is that experience, but it's not just going to be my experience. It's going to be like all my writing is my experience, the larger, like putting in the context of, of pregnancy, like getting now in America, and like and the medical world and morphine. So these are ideas that I'm like that are coming out, but I think it'll be another book of essays, basically.
Yeah, well, that's quite serious miscarriages in itself, as well as the sepsis. So you've been really going through some tough times there recently. Well, we'll have to round it off here. We've only got about a minute to share. But in that minute, what advice would you give someone trying to find their rise as a writer in today's world?
Read the greats. So I would say read Harold Bloom's Western canon and or Genius, and then read the geniuses. Read Virginia Woolf. Read Emily Dickinson. Read Michelle Montaigne. Read Shakespeare, and write and just like grab a notebook. Give yourself a quota every day and don't shirk on the quota. So like if you only have like 20 minutes a day to write, do it every day. Fantastic. Well,
we've got to move on here, but thanks a lot for coming on the show today, DC.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Dave.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.